Welcome back, everyone. I'm going to be reading the Xahau white paper here that's on GitHub. The link will be in the description below. Would love to hear your conversation in the comments below. Hopefully I'm going to get the pronunciation of Xahau right, and if I'm not, then please don't hurt me or berate me in the comments below. But without further ado, let's get started. Xahau, the smart contract sidechain for the XRPL ecosystem. Disclaimer. This crypto asset white paper has not been approved by any competent authority in any member state of the European Union. The offerer of the crypto asset is solely responsible for content of this crypto asset white paper. Version 1, published 28th of August, 2023. Summary. The Xahau ledger, Xahau, is the smart contract sidechain for the XRPL ecosystem. It is a fork of the XRPL ledger's XRPL's open-source rippled codebase that embodies all the useful and innovative features of the XRPL, including its environmental sustainability, but tweaks and upgrades the codebase to support smart contracts. Xahau's core features are A. XRPL Core. Xahau retains the key features that have made the XRPL one of the most enduring and popular networks, including the XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol, previously Rippled Protocol Consensus Algorithm, the DEX, and the logic of protecting the ledger against spam bloat by charging and burning fees in the native token. But it substitutes the recent XLS20 NFTs for the cleaner, more simpler URI tokens. B. Hooks for smart contracts. The big new feature for Xahau is hooks, the smart contract implementation for Rippled. Hooks are small pieces of code installed on an account that impose rules on the transactions the account sends or receives before those transactions can be finalized. C. Native token and better tokenomics. Xahau will be secured by its native asset token, Xahau XRP, currency code XRP+, and powered by better tokenomics designed to reward validators and support smart contracts. D. Burn to mint liquidity. As an XRPL sidechain, Xahau will be linked to the XRPL via a one-way burn-to-mint liquidity portal that allows users to clone their XRPL account address on Xahau and burn XRP on mainnet in return for a matching number of Xahau XRP. E. Genesis Hook Governance Game. Xahau's Genesis account is powered by a hook that regulates, amongst other things, the emissions of new Xahau XRP, and this hook is governed by two-tiered governance game with up to 20 independent-owned validators as participants. 1.3. In concert, these features create a new network within the XRPL ecosystem that implements the Hooks Amendment to deliver fast, cheap, secure smart contracts for the XRPL ecosystem, supported by a properly incentivized community of validators and developers. 1.4. The development of the Xahau ledger has been driven by the Xahau Launch Alliance, 5 experienced and committed entities within the XRPL community that have carried the cost and risk of establishing the network without an ICO. 1.5. Xahau will launch fully functional and decentralized with over 10 independently owned validators run by a representative mixture of the XRPL ecosystem, including developers, exchanges, and long-term community members. 2. Xahau, built from the XRPL's DNA. Xahau, the software that runs Xahau, is a fork of Rippled, the open-source codebase of the XRPL. It retains the key features that have made the XRPL one of the most popular and enduring networks since it was launched in 2012. XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol. Xahau uses the XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol, previously Rippled Protocol Consensus Algorithm, sometimes called Proof of Association (POA). It is designed to overcome the limitations of traditional consensus mechanisms like proof of work, POW, or proof of stake, POS, particularly in the high energy consumption association with POW, or proof of work. 2.3. The XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol, previously Rippled Protocol Consensus Algorithm, protocol works as follows. A. Validator Proposal. Each validator proposes a new set of transactions called a candidate set, which they believe should be included in the next ledger. This candidate set includes both new transactions and any transactions that were not previously included in a validator ledger. B. Amendment phase. Validators communicate with each other to exchange and evaluate candidate sets. They independently verify the validity and order of transactions proposed by other validators. Through a series of iterative rounds, validators attempt to converge on a single candidate set that the majority agrees upon. C. Finalization. Once a supermajority of validators, at least 80%, agrees on a specific candidate set, that set is considered finalized. Finalized candidate sets become the basis for the next ledger. D. Ledger closing. The ledger is closed and a new ledger is created based on the transactions in the finalized candidate set. This process occurs roughly every 3 to 5 seconds in the XRPL, allowing for a faster transaction settlement times. 2.4. Under the XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol, previously Ripple Protocol Consensus Algorithm, each validator specifies a UNL, Unique Node List, being a list of other validators it trusts. The coincidental ledger is found through the overlap between the UNLs of all the validators. 2.5. To facilitate social consensus on the appropriate UNL, several entities, including the XRPL Foundation, publish Recommended Validator List, or VLs, of the validators they deem suitably trustworthy. Following a generally accepted DUNL helps ensure you stay on the main ledger and do not unintentionally end up following an irrelevant fork. Xahau will follow a similar social consensus approach to defining a DUNL, with organizations like the XRPL Foundation publishing its recommended VL. 2.6. The XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol, previously Rippled Protocol Consensus Algorithm, protocol provides several advantages, including high scalability, low energy consumption, and resistance to censorship and network forks. By utilizing a set of trusted validators, this unique consensus algorithm, Xahau achieves fast and secure transaction processing while maintaining decentralization and reliability. The DEX. 2.7. Xahau retains a version of the XRPL's limit order book decentralized exchange, DEX, that allows users to trade and exchange assets directly on the ledger. The DEX leverages Xahau's decentralized and trustless architecture to enable peer-to-peer asset trading without the need for intermediaries. In summary, the decentralized exchange works as follows. A. Order creation. Users can create, buy, or sell orders on the DEX by specifying the asset they want to trade, the desired quantity, and the price they are willing to accept or pay. B. Order matching. The DEX order book maintains a record of all open buy and sell orders. When a new order is placed, the DEX automatically matches it against existing orders based on price and quantity. C. Cross-currency trading. The DEX supports cross-currency trading, enabling users to trade between different assets. To facilitate this, the DEX uses the ledger's native currency as a bridge currency, allowing users to convert one asset to the native currency and then to another asset. D. Pathfinding function. The pathfinding function is a key component of the DEX. It helps users to find the most efficient trading path when converting one asset to another. For example, if a user wants to trade asset A for asset D, but there is no direct market available, The pathfinding function will search for the best sequence of trades, example given, A to B, B to C, and C to D, to achieve the desired conversion with minimal slippage and fees. E. Automatic order execution. Once a trade is matched, the DEX automatically executes the transaction. The ledger's consensus mechanism ensures that the transaction is validated and added to the ledger, providing a high level of security and immutability. F. Trustless and decentralized. The DEX operates in a trustless and decentralized manner. It does not rely on a centralized exchange or require users to deposit their funds into a third-party wallet. Instead, users maintain control over their assets throughout the trading process, reducing counterparty risk. G. Low fees and fast settlement. Trading on the DEX incurs minimal fees compared to traditional centralized exchanges. Xahau's consensus protocol allows for fast settlement times, enabling near-instantaneous transaction processing. With these features, the DEX provides users with a convenient and secure platform for peer-to-peer token trading. By leveraging the trustless and decentralized nature of Xahau, the DEX offers efficient cross-token trading and seamless order matching while maintaining user control and privacy. Burned transaction fees. 2.10. To protect itself against spam and bloat, the XRPL charges transaction fees and account reserves in its native currency and burns all transaction fees rather than redistribute them to validators. Xahau follows this fees charge and burned model to likewise protect itself. 2.11. While this is a proven mechanism for protecting the ledger, it has implications for Xahau's tokenomics, as discussed later. The fees burned by Xahau's smart contracts, while still small, will be much higher and more variable than the standard transaction fees on the XRPL. URI token NFTs instead of XLS20 NFTs. 2.12. Unlike the XLS20 NFT standard recently introduced to the XRPL, which relies on compressing NFTs into on-ledger pages, Xahau will use URI token objects. 2.13. URI tokens, short for Uniform Resource Identifier Token, are an innovative way to represent and manage NFTs, their metadata and ownership information within Xahau. Each token is a first-class ledger object with a unique address that does not change when the current owner does. 2.14. URI token NFTs have many benefits over the XLS20 NFT standard, including A. Lightweight and efficient. URI tokens are first-class on-ledger objects that can be created, destroyed, transferred, bought, and sold, and which interoperate easily with hooks. Trading is limited to a single sell offer per token that can be accepted either by the specified destination account or, if no destination is specified, then the general public. There is no brokered mode. B. Interoperability and immutability. URI tokens come with a built-in extensible metadata JSON standard and an optional digest field, a hash making the content of the NFT immutable. This provides flexibility for developers and creators to choose their preferred storage solutions, such as IPFS or traditional web servers. It also promotes interoperability with existing NFT standards and platforms, facilitating the integration with the broader NFT ecosystem. C. Improved user experience. URI tokens can be easily located by their keylet on-ledger address that does not depend on the current owner of the token. The NFT metadata and ownership information can be easily accessed and updated through standard web protocols. Users can simply click on the URI associated with an NFT to view its details, including images, descriptions, and provenance. This approach simplifies the user experience and reduces the complexity of interacting with NFTs on Xahau. 2.15. Thus, URI tokens provide a lightweight, flexible, and cost-efficient solution for NFTs on Xahau. 3. Hooks. Smart contracts for the XRPL ecosystem. 3.1. Hooks is a smart contract solution developed specifically for the XRPL ecosystem. Hooks are small, efficient pieces of code defined on a Xahau account that execute logic on transactions sent or received by the account before those transactions are finalized in the ledger. Hooks are thus a way for developers to create and deploy smart contracts on Xahau, opening a wide range of possibilities for decentralized applications, or dApps, and automated transactions. 3.2. Xahau implements the Hooks amendment as a sidechain so the XRPL ecosystem can benefit from hooks now rather than later. It also allows the XRPL community to better evaluate whether and how to implement hooks on the XRPL mainnet in the future. Benefits of hooks. 3.3. Some key benefits of hooks over other smart contract solutions include: A. Simplicity and efficiency. Hooks are lightweight and efficient compared to conventional smart contract solutions. The underlying architecture of Xahau, which focuses on transaction settlement and fast consensus, ensures quick execution of smart contracts without compromising performance. B. Native integration. Hooks are a Layer 1 smart contract solution and thus live natively inside the ledger, allowing developers to create contracts that interact directly with on-ledger objects, balances, and transactions. In contrast to Layer 2 smart contract solutions, this tight integration simplifies the development process and ensures seamless interoperability with Xahau's ecosystem. C. Low fees and scalability. Hooks leverages Xahau's low transaction fees and high scalability. Like most chains, Xahau can handle a high volume of transactions per second, making it suitable for applications that require fast and cost-effective smart contract execution. D. Security and reliability. Hooks inherit the robust security and reliability of the XRPL. The XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol, previously Rippled Protocol Consensus Algorithm, which powers Xahau, ensures a decentralized network with consensus among trusted validators. This strong security foundation provides confidence for developers and users alike. E. Ecosystem compatibility. Hooks are designed to be compatible with existing XRPL tools and services, making it easier for developers to integrate smart contracts into their applications. This compatibility enables seamless interaction with other features of the XRPL, such as decentralized exchanges and payment channels. F. Account decentralization. Using hooks, it is possible for Xahau account to be fully autonomous and to emit and receive transactions according to the logic of its hook, instead of relying on external private key holders to manually authorize transactions. Sample use cases. 3.4. By introducing smart contract capabilities to the XRPL ecosystem, hooks offer a powerful and efficient solution for developers seeking to build decentralized applications and automate transactions. Examples of the kinds of functions hooks can achieve include: A. Whitelists. A hook-enabled account can protect accounts against fraud and sanction transactions by being coded to only accept or send transactions to whitelisted accounts. B. Blacklists. A hook-enabled account can be coded to refuse to receive or send transactions to any prohibited blacklisted account. C. Sophisticated escrow. A hook-enabled account can hold any asset received from nominated account and only forward or return those assets if told to do so by a valid transaction that meets predetermined criteria. D. Automated registry. A hook-enabled account can act as an automated registry and mint and redeem URI NFTs as evidence of registration or registration rights. E. Self-sovereign treasury. Issued currencies can mimic decentralized counterparty-free assets by being deposited into a self-owned account, with a hook that emits the currency according to the disclosed and predetermined emission schedule. 3.5. The combination of simplicity, low fees, scalability, security, and ecosystem compatibility means Xahau offers early access to an attractive smart contract solution for the XRPL ecosystem. Xahau's experience with hooks will help the community determine whether and how to implement hooks on the XRPL in the future. 4. Xahau XRP native token and tokenomics. 4.1. Xahau is secured by its native token, Xahau XRP. Its salient details are as follows: native token, Xahau XRP. Ticker, XRP+. Smallest unit, 1 drop or 0.000001 XRP+. Function: Xahau XRP is the currency of the network. It is a utility token to purchase network services. Like the XRPL, transactions on Xahau incur a fee or reserve that is charged in Xahau XRP to protect the ledger against spam and bloat. Initial liquidity: 600 million distributed to launch participants. Max supply, uncapped. Emissions mechanisms: the supply of Xahau's XRP is determined via the amendments enabled in Xahau's consensus protocol. Burned XRP. XRP on the XRPL mainnet can be burned and minted into Xahau's XRP using the import amendment detailed in Section 5 below. Monthly balance adjustment. To put back into circulation some of the XRP Plus burned from transaction fees, each active user can claim an increase in their account balance of roughly 0.34% of their average monthly balance, equal to 4% PA compounding. This emission is controlled by the protocol governance game, which uses a combination of hooks, balance rewards, and the Xahau Genesis amendments. Monthly seat rewards. To put back into circulation some of the XRP Plus burned from the transaction fees, and to incentivize active and appropriate governance, an amount of matching the total claimed monthly balance adjustments is also rewarded to governance game validators. Burned XRP. 4.2. The principal source of Xahau's XRP is from XRP burnt on the XRPL and ported to Xahau via the Burn to Mint liquidity portal discussed below in Section 5. 4.3. The Xahau protocol, through the import amendment, will allow an amount of Xahau XRP equal to the current circulating supply of XRP, appropriately 52 billion, to be minted in this way. This Burn to Mint liquidity portal is what makes Xahau a sidechain of the XRPL and ensures the native token on Xahau is a meaningful representation of XRP. Initial distribution. 4.4. The launch parties have invested significant time and resources to launch Xahau, thus it would be unreasonable to also require them to use Burn to Mint. An initial distribution is provided at the protocol level by the Xahau Genesis Amendment. 4.5. The protocol will pay a modest 600 million Xahau XRP as follows. A. 12 million to each of the 8 governance game validator seats on launch. B. 16 million additional to GateHub for DEX stablecoin liquidity bootstrapping. C. 160 additional million to XRPL Labs, Zaman, for intellectual property. Zaman has carried the main technical and financial burden of developing hooks, and Xahau. This additional distribution is for that effort. D. 328 million to the XRPL Foundation to help ensure the health of the XRPL protocol ecosystem moving forward. Monthly balance adjustment. One challenge Xahau must manage is the additional expense of smart contracts compared to normal XRPL transactions. 4.7. On the XRPL, transaction fees cost as little as one drop, or 0.000001 XRP, against a total supply of 100 billion XRP. This is a trivial but significant cost. Hooks transactions, on the other hand, can cost orders of magnitude more to set and to trigger. Further, while every XRPL transaction is standardized, hooks can vary enormously in their complexity and cost. To properly protect itself against spam and bloat from its hooks, the ledger must charge appropriately and dynamically for the size and logic complexity of every hook transaction. 4.8. The consequence is that, as a smart contract chain that burns fees, Xahau XRP could easily be burned to near zero, and certainly much more rapidly than equivalent XRP would be burned on the XRPL, potentially leading to perverse incentives to hoard Xahau rather than use it to deploy and run hooks. 4.9. To guard against these risks, Xahau needs a protocol-level mechanism that puts burned tokens back into circulation, but one that does not simply incentivize high fees. This is the purpose of the monthly balance adjustment. 4.10. The monthly balance adjustment works as follows. A. Each month, each Xahau account can choose to claim against the protocol an adjustment based on their average Xahau XRP balance, computed since the last adjustment. The adjusted amount is the equivalent of 4% PA compounded, roughly 0.34% per month. B. Users can claim their balance adjustment and by sending a reward claim transaction to the Genesis account at any time provided 30 days have passed since the last claim. Doing so demonstrates they are an active user. C. Upon receipt of the claim transaction, the protocol, via the balance reward and Xahau Genesis amendment, increases the user's account balance by the balance adjustment. D. Unclaimed balance adjustments are foregone as a penalty for inactivity. E. 4% is the initial rate at launch, but it can be changed via the governance game if it proves too small or too large in the future. 4.11. This mechanism allows active users to claim a monthly adjustment that puts further Xahau XRP into circulating supply, mitigating the risk of the token being burned down to zero through smart contract execution fees. Monthly Governance Validator Rewards. 4.12. The Xahau Genesis account is enabled with a hook that controls, among other things, the emissions of Xahau's XRP. This hook needs a governance arrangement so that it can be monitored, amended, and or replaced in the face of changing network and real-world conditions. 4.13. It is well known that the XRPL mainnet validators do not receive any kind of reward for the services they provide for underpinning the mainnet ledger. However, infrastructure costs money to run, and real-world experience shows that this lack of incentive leads to a lack of actively managed validators. 4.14. The Xahau Genesis hook needs to know or be told which accounts it must trust when deciding whether to update itself, so those accounts must be known in advance, rather than emerging from the overlapping UNLs. 4.5. The technical solution to this problem is incentivized Genesis hook governance game that rewards certain validators for overseeing the hook. It works as follows. A. There are 20 seats on the Genesis hook governance game. B. Each seat is controlled either by a single Xahau account, level 1, or a self-managing committee of 3 to 20 accounts, level 2. C. For each occupied seat, the protocol mints and distributes 1/20th of the total monthly balance adjustments claimed that month. D. If a seat is held by a committee of accounts, the rewards for that seat are split in the manner of that committee's choosing. E. If no users claim a balance adjustment that month, no rewards are paid to any validators. F. Each flag ledger, 256 ledgers, an on-ledger record called a UNL report is generated. This report contains a list of validators, public keys that 80% of other validators believe participated adequately in consensus since the previous flag ledger. The Genesis hook will only distribute validator rewards to seats that correspond to the public keys of validators on the UNL report. 4.16. Thus, the Genesis hook governance game includes a reward mechanism designed to ensure that trusted accounts are rewarded for running trustworthy validators, that those rewards are linked to user activity, and that those rewards put new Xahau XRP into distribution, mitigating the risk of a token liquidity crunch from high smart contract execution fees. 5. Burn to mint liquidity solution. 5.1. While the XRPL ecosystem currently operates on a single chain, the ecosystem will soon expand to encompass multiple parallel chains, like the Ripple Persist EVM sidechain and Xahau. These sidechains will offer enhanced scalability, flexibility, and interoperability, fostering a more diverse and dynamic ecosystem for XRP and related digital assets. 5.2. As a sidechain, Xahau Ledger must be capable of interchain value exchange with the XRPL. Xahau will enable that value exchange with the XRPL via Burn to Mint liquidity portal that allows users to clone their XRP account address on Xahau and burn XRP on XRPL mainnet, in return for a matching number of Xahau XRP in their current cloned account on Xahau. This section explains the burn to mint function and why it was adopted ahead of other mechanisms. Existing mechanisms and their flaws. 5.3. There are several existing mechanisms for cross-chain value transfer, but each has specific drawbacks as follows. A. Centralized exchanges. Centralized exchanges, or CEXs, offer opaque liquidity on more than one chain. Most users will use a CEX to obtain their first coin on a new chain, and these are an important but centralized part of the ecosystem. Reliance on CEXs is a centralizing factor in an ecosystem. B. Layer 2 bridges. Layer 2 bridges are semi-decentralized custodial lending or wrapping services. Locking up collateral on one chain allows the user to borrow against it on the second chain. Returning funds on the second chain unlocks the collateral on the first chain. These services are honeypots that attract exploits. Further, they have a lack of legal clarity in many jurisdictions, including clarity on the legal role of the operators on the bridge and the status of the locked coins. C. Atomic swaps. If two chains support hash-time lock contracts, then an atomic swap could be used to transfer value between the chains. In this protocol, two users wanting to perform opposite trades are match-made. The protocols ensure that either both trades occur or both do not. Atomic swaps have three drawbacks. First, if the counterparty does not perform their trade, the first party must wait for the time lock expiry. Secondly, a critical mass of users on both chains must exist so that users wishing to swap can always find a counterparty wishing to make the opposite trade. Finally, if the directionality of the trading is generally in one direction, it may not be possible to find counterparties. 5.4. While none of these above mechanisms are precluded by burn to mint, that is, all of these mentioned above are a possible feature of Xahau in the future. Burn to mint is a native cross-chain value transfer mechanism that is immediately available and avoids all the identified drawbacks. Burn to mint mechanism. Burning XRP on the XRPL. 5.5. Xahau's burn to mint allows a user with an account on the XRPL mainnet to clone that account on Xahau, same R address and same private keys, and then burn XRP on the XRPL mainnet via an arbitrary high transaction fee and mint a matching number of Xahau's XRP into their cloned account on Xahau. 5.6. This mechanism involves the following steps. A. Burn fees on XRPL. The first step involves burning a certain amount of XRP on the XRPL by executing an account set transaction with an arbitrary high fee. Once the transaction is validated, the high fee now represents burnt, i.e., the irreversible destruction of XRP. This XRP is removed from circulation on the XRPL and can never be recovered based on current ledger rules. B. Generating an XPOP, proof of burn, using a special client that listens to XRPL for burn to mint transactions and the validation messages for the ledgers they appear in. An XPOP, CXLS41, is generated for the transaction. The XPOP is a non-interactive, offline cryptographic proof that the transaction was applied on the XRPL. Any party with an XPOP verifier can verify that the burn happened. C. Minting on Xahau. The XPOP of the burn transactions is submitted to Xahau using the import transaction. The import transaction must be performed on Xahau by the clone account, same R address and same private keys of the XRP account that initiated the burn transaction. The XPOP is converted into a hex blob and supplied as a field in the import transaction. If all conditions are met, Xahau now mints the required number of Xahau XRP to the Xahau account. D. B2M ratio schedule. The amount of Xahau XRP minted in response to each XRP burned is determined by the B2M ratio schedule. The B2M ratio schedule starts at parity. 1 XRP burned mints 1 Xahau XRP for the first 2 million ledgers from launch. It then reduces smoothly with every ledger closed. Each XRP burned mints progressively less Xahau XRP for the next 28 million ledgers, until the burn to mint function self-terminates after the 30 millionth ledger from launch. Xahau's B2M ratio schedule. Xahau's ledger closed since Genesis Amendment activated. B2M ratio XRP burned, Xahau XRP minted. First 2 million ledgers, 1 to 1. Next 28 million ledgers, 1 XRP burned mints 1/28 millionth less Xahau XRP per ledger closed. After the 30 millionth ledger from launch, burn to mint disabled, no further minting possible. E. Cloning account on Xahau ledger. The import transaction is special because it can be submitted using an account that does not yet exist on Xahau. If the clone account does not yet exist on Xahau, it will be created as part of the minting process, and the network will credit the account with 2 Xahau XRP, which covers the account reserves, 1 Xahau XRP, and 5 ledger objects, for free to get started. If the account is created but Xahau is uncertain about its keying, because a regular key or a signer's list was used, then the account will be created in a black hole state. If the account already exists on Xahau, then the import sequence number on the account root is verified against the sequence in its burnt transaction, which is embedded inside the XPOP to prevent replay attacks. Upon successful burn to mint, the import sequence is updated to reflect the most recently submitted XPOP for this account. F. Key synchronization. The keying information for an account on the XRPL may also be imported to Xahau at any time, at the user's discretion. This is done by using a set regular key or signer list set transaction on the XRPL mainnet and then generating an XPOP from it. If the user does not wish to change their keys on mainnet, then they must repeat their existing regular key or signer list within the relevant transaction, thus executing the transaction but not making any changes to the account keying. The XPOP can then be used with the import transaction on Xahau to transfer the mainnet keying to the same account on Xahau. This is useful for multi-sign accounts, vanity addresses, and for accounts with the compromised master key. 5.7. Together, these steps allow a user, if they ever so choose, to clone their existing XRPL account on Xahau and to mint Xahau XRP into that cloned account by burning XRP on mainnet via transaction fees. The process both guarantees the XRP has been burned and that both accounts are controlled by the same person. 5.8. Anybody wishing to convert Xahau XRP back to mainnet XRP can do so by trading it through a centralized exchange in lieu of other technical solutions, bridges, atomic swaps, or a reverse path burn to mint if the import amendment goes live on the XRPL mainnet being implemented. Benefits of burn to mint. 5.9. Burn to mint function has several important benefits. A. Decentralized. No one can block access to burn to mint mechanism, and no authorization is needed to use it. For some users, in some cases, burn to mint may be the only legal option to obtain liquidity on Xahau. B. Self-sovereign liquidity. Both sides of the burn to mint mechanism can, and should, run on the user's own infrastructure. The user burns XRP on their own infrastructure, generates and submits the XPOP to their own infrastructure, and thereby also mints the Xahau XRP on their own infrastructure. Aside from being decentralized and censorship-proof, this means that everyone, but particularly exchanges and businesses, can freely decide when and how much XRP to move to Xahau. They provide their own liquidity to themselves on demand on their own infrastructure. C. Non-custodial. Burnt XRP ceases to exist on the chain which it was burnt. Because it no longer exists, the burnt XRP cannot become someone else's property. It cannot be held in trust, nor in a door account, nor in some sort of custodial or escrow arrangement. Therefore, burn to mint is truly non-custodial, and there is no counterparty or intermediary. D. Exploit resistant. Burn to mint XPOP relies on the same trust mechanics that secure the XRPL. In particular, validators' keys and validator list keys. As a result, the burn to mint mechanism is at least as secure as the network itself against witness, i.e. validator, hijacking, and tampering. E. Key-free. In a traditional two-way bridge, a door account containing users' locked funds is maintained by some set of signing keys or witness keys. This means there are keys somewhere that could be used to gain unauthorized access to the door account and exploit the bridge by distributing users' locked funds to an unauthorized third party. By contrast, burn to mint solution does not use a door account, and thus there are no keys and no locked funds to hack. Impact on XRPL 5.10. Burn to Mint effectively gives every XRP holder the option to port their XRP to Xahau. That option will be valuable and useful to the extent Xahau's smart contract features mean the market price Xahau XRP higher than XRP on mainnet. The progressive halvening of the B2M ratio and eventual disabling of the B2M mechanism prevents any risk that all XRP might be burned in this way. 5.11. Enterprise users may be better served using centralized exchanges to purchase the Xahau XRP they need. If the market values Xahau XRP the same as XRP on the mainnet, this would imply sufficient liquidity of each token exists to meet the user's demand. Burn to Mint Summary 5.12. Burn to Mint is a novel cross-chain value transfer mechanism for XRPL protocol and POA-backed chains. The mechanism involves a value transfer primitive that is self-sovereign, secure, and avoids many of the legal and technical pitfalls associated with the traditional value transfer methods. Its inclusion in the ecosystem adds a native decentralized option to transfer value from XRPL without a counterparty and without custody. 6. Xahau Governance Game 6.1. XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol, previously Ripple Protocol Consensus Algorithm. Chains rely on a robust overlap in validator UNLs to define the canonical ledger. If a validator does not trust enough of the same machines that everyone else trusts, they risk unknowingly listening to an irrelevant fork of the ledger. Determining the best UNL is a matter of social off-chain consensus. 6.2. To assist that social consensus, various entities publish DUNLs, lists of validators everyone should follow. Xahau will follow the same approach with the XRPL Foundation and others expected to publish such lists. So, like the XRPL, Xahau will be a public permissionless chain for which anyone can run a validator, and like the XRPL, any update of the protocol will be dependent on more than 80% of UNL validators supporting the changes, in the same manner as the XRPL. 6.3. While the DUNL helps define the validators responsible for the canonical ledger, Xahau has a second governance challenge, not present in the XRPL mainnet: the governance of its Genesis hooks. The XRPL mainnet minted all of its XRP on creation. Xahau cannot follow this approach. Its native token needs to be minted in response to the happening of the predefined events, i.e. burn to mint, account adjustments, validator rewards. It uses a hook on its Genesis account to achieve this. 6.4. This means Xahau needs a governance mechanism for its Genesis hook in case the hook needs to be adjusted or replaced. This is known as the governance game. A. Purpose. The governance game exists to ensure that the UNL validators remain active and allow those active members to maintain the hook on the Genesis account that controls the distribution of Xahau XRP. B. Seats. There are 20 seats at a table. A seat is a Xahau account whose vote counts in the governance game. C. L1 table. The governance game requires at least the top level table. This is called the level 1 table, L1 table. This table, by definition, exists only on the Genesis account according to the governance game hook installed there. A seat at the L1 table may be filled by an account or may be empty. These seats are called L1s. D. L2 table. An L1 seat may itself be filled by an account which has another, different, governance hook installed on it. The seats at this table are called L2s, and the table is an L2 table. The structure is a self-managing committee of 3 to 20 accounts that collectively control the L1 seats and its voting rights. Thus, up to 400 accounts may be involved in the two-layer governance game, depending on the mix of L1s and L2 seats. E. Filling seats. The L1 seats are filled or vacated by 80% vote of all existing filled L1 seats. For L2 seats, the Committee of Accounts that collectively holds the L1 seat invites or disinvites new members, up to a maximum of 20 and down to a minimum of 3, by majority vote or according to whatever other logic or rules they deem fit. No other seats have any control over the members of an L2 table. F. Voting. Each L1 seat has one vote in the governance game. For L2 seats, the single vote of its L2 table is determined by whatever logic the L2 table decides. The default is more than 50% vote of the L2 seat members at that L2 table. G. Hooks changes. All changes to the hook are voted on via the governance game. A hook change is only successful if supported by the defined percent vote of all seats. The regular vote is 80%, but for that increase of the rate of balance adjustment, it is 100%. H. Rewards. To incentivize L1 seats to run reliable validators, L1 seats earn monthly rewards provided they actively participate in consensus. I. Foundation of DUNL. The validators run by those participating in the Genesis Hook governance game should form the foundation of any DUNL, as any seat that performs unreliable risks being voted out by other seats. 6.5. The different types of seats allow for a greater diversity of participating accounts without undermining security. Level 1 seats are suitable to accounts controlled by significant entities the community can trust, while Layer 2 seats allow a broader pool of participants, but since their collective participation count as one vote, their numbers do not overwhelm the trust placed in Level 1 seats. 6.6. Thus, the governance game allows up to 400 accounts to participate and rewards those accounts for doing so provided they also participate in consensus by running a reliable validator. 7. The Xahau Launch Alliance. 7.1. Xahau has been developed by an alliance of 5 independent entities with a track record of building on and supporting the XRPL ecosystem. Those entities are as follows. A. XRPL Labs, Zaman. The software developer behind the Zum wallet, Hooks, and Xahau that has carried most of the expertise and the cost of developing Xahau. B. GateHub Limited, a multinational technology company, crypto exchange, and crypto service provider, including stablecoins issued on the XRPL. C. Titanium OU, an IT consulting and infrastructure firm specializing in providing secure hosting and a major provider of the infrastructure for the XRPL as Alloy Networks. D. Evernode Labs Ltd., the developer of the Evernode smart contract project and responsible for deploying it to Xahau. E. Digital Governing OU, an incorporated entity associated with a globally active firm for accounting, audit, and legal services. 8. Launch fully functional and decentralized. 8.1. Xahau will launch fully functional and decentralized without raising funds. No central control. 8.2. Xahau will launch with 8 of its 20 governance game seats filled. A. 5 will be Layer 1 seats, each filled by a member of the Xahau Launch Alliance. B. 3 will be Layer 2 tables, one of which will be filled by a committee of exchanges and other diverse committee of XRPL community projects, developers, and long-term supporters. C. 1 will be FYEO, a company offering code audit and review services on blockchain development, including software such as hooks. No funds being raised. 8.3. There is no ICO and no funds are being raised from the launch. 8.4. The Xahau Alliance members have each independently funded their own development efforts. There's no communal funding, nor any pooling of money or resources for the further development of Xahau, nor is there any roadmaps or Xahau Foundation or other centralized treasury. Any further development is wholly at the discretion of independent actors within the ecosystem. No promises. 8.5. The governance game members are independent entities. There is no such agreement, arrangement, or understanding between them about how to cast their vote, deploy their resources, or use their assets, including any Xahau XRP. It is only the logic of the game. Be a trustworthy validator in the eyes of other members or be voted out of the game. That derives validators' behavior. This is an inherent feature of the XRPL Ledger's consensus protocol, previously the Ripple protocol consensus algorithm, POA mechanism Xahau uses. No further features needed. 8.6. While software, by its nature, needs to be maintained, there are no essential functionalities missing from Xahau or in need of further development for the software to be useful as a smart contract sidechain of the XRPL. With that said, we are at the end of the white paper, everyone, so thank you so much for your time and listening to this. Please let me know your comments below about how you believe this will affect the XRPL. I'm generally excited for smart contracts and to see these side chains pop up. I'm really interested to know about the interactions between the two and how we go from chain to chain. If this new burn to mint mechanism, which I'm not very familiar with. But again, would love your comments, would love your thoughts below. I will be learning more and sharing that learning with you as we go. But yep, I'm JTXRP. Thank you so much. I'm out.